Hey everyone, how's it going? Oh, I usually have my ring on my finger when I say, hey, it's three's a magic number. I got a ring over here. But the title of this video is Confessions of My Inner Child. Confessions of the Inner Child. Communication issues. And maybe it's symbolic not having my ring with not having a filter or a front or a facade. Or just, allow myself to be very open with this video. Nothing between me and the truth that I'm trying to get across today with this one. I'm just gonna go at it. I'm just gonna go at it with how it is for me and how I've understood this particular shadow of mine of feeling that people don't listen to me or pay me mind or attention when I'm speaking, when I got something to share. And how I've created this story from my childhood that people just don't hear what I have to say or need to say. Because there was a point in my life when I was very young when I had an abusive stepmother and a father who did not care to know about what was going on, and feeling very silenced and manipulated in that moment because she knew that he would never believe us. He would never believe me or my brother. When my brother tried to talk, I knew there was no point in talking because no one would be interested in hearing what we had to say or what I had to say. And it's been a very tough shadow to have to deal with as I've gotten older. And although I'm no longer, living with my father, of course I escaped. I didn't really move out, I escaped. Well, that's a whole nother story. But the shadow, that feeling, that intense feeling of you got shit to share, you got shit to tell people, and they don't pay much attention. They don't know how to pay attention, or they can't listen to you, or they don't value what you're saying. I still had that narrative going on in my mind. Even when if I was to speak to a group of people and they would, in their own way, take it in and have their own transformations and get better with whatever they were doing, if the context of what I was saying was about wellness and spirituality and whatnot, I would almost not even believe that they were doing anything with anything I said, because the smallest reminder or example of a person who wouldn't be listening to anything I would say on any matter regardless would just remind me or pull me back into that narrative that I that was solidified in my mind. And I found myself trying to go into spaces to express myself and be heard. And I may already have been heard, or I may not be heard, but this thirst to be heard is strong and it's there. And it honestly does not have much to do with the new scenarios that may place themselves in front of me or that I may jump into or look for to express this shadow. Because the shadow is an old shadow. It's not inherently new. If anything is new, it's just new faces, new characters to a same old story. And I've been doing a lot of reflecting over this week and last night, and even with my fears of coming out to talk, my fears of, you know, the feeling is being very reluctant to come out and share anything at all whatsoever, or because it's like I brush it off, ain't no one gonna listen, ain't no one gonna pay attention, and it's not so much coming from uh, an accurate assessment of reality, or even one where there's an inclination to see or how could I get around this. It is all really coming back or stemming out of childhood pain. Me as a child not having anyone to be attentive to me or listen to me. I grew up without my mother's presence. It was not her fault, but there was a kidnapping. I was kidnapped when I was young, and it led me to feel very silenced, very powerless, very. I gave up. I think I was around 14 or 15, maybe 16, I think. When I came to this realization, I was in my dad's garage. I was like, so this is what drives people to want to kill themselves. This is the condition. And I felt very convicted. I felt like this was the only way to get out of the situation that I was dealing with. Because there was a lot going on. There was too much going on. I'm only sharing right now the part of the story where I would love to tell someone what's happening, but they would not listen. And this person is my own father, and he would not listen. But the shit that was happening that I would want him to know, that's a whole nother thing. But what really hurt me the most is that you cried for help and really needed, truly needed. You know, this was not like, oh, I actually, no, let me not go there. I was gonna make another example, but it's not necessary. But in this scenario, it's okay. Let me put it this way: there are some things where, like, oh, he didn't hear you about this, or he didn't listen to you about that. You're like, ah, it was not. It was a small thing. I see the pain, but it's not a small thing. This right here was not a small thing. This right here was psychological, mental abuse, emotional abuse, all kinds of abuse. This right here was very fucking unfair what was going on to me and what I had to witness happen to my brother. And it cuts deep. It cut me deep. And so I carried that pain. I'm just confessing to myself and to, anybody watching who can relate or who can listen. Yeah, I've carried that pain. And I felt embarrassed about not being able to. Yeah, the embarrassed and the guilt and the shame on my part also comes from not being able to be able to find someone to talk to who could help me in that situation and pull myself to help, pull me out of that situation earlier. To not be able to know who to talk to or not be able to identify who can listen and who cannot listen. I feel guilty for not knowing that when I was that young. I feel guilty for not knowing, oh, let me go talk to so and so they can talk to my dad and my stepmother so they can stop the BS. And I think I've been hard on myself on that account. I think the hardest person to forgive, if anything, was just myself in this situation. I think I've just really been angry, upset, and ashamed of myself for not being able to know how to protect myself by expressing my pain and my concerns to the right person and knowing the right person to express myself to who could help me, who could end the situation so I could feel like I can express my power and solve this problem. I couldn't do that for myself. I couldn't use my power of self-expression and creativity to be socially aware enough to find the right person to talk to who could have pulled me out of it. And in a sense, if that was a story, I would still feel like, yes, I did it. I don't really have a yes, I did it within this particular context or within this particular part of the story. The person who did help me, though, was my uncle because he had a sense that something wrong was going on, so he sent his daughter, who is my cousin, over. She was much older than me, to survey things in the house and see what was going on. None of this was orchestrated by me, but I suppose there were some signs that I was given out, or that was given out by the household, more by relatives who'd come over, who would notice things. Maybe there was some kind of, even though not a very conscious communication, a subconscious, body language kind of communication, which alerted them that something was off. And maybe in that sense, I can say that my body, my energy still was able to communicate. So maybe I won't be too hard on myself. And maybe I can be glad that there are some people that can notice when something is way out of balance and try to do something about it. But this is my confession. I'm trying to be able to see it clearly without a filter and see it for what it is, and to see where I've been hard on myself about this, so that I don't carry that same energy when I go interacting with other people. I don't be so hard on them if I feel like they ain't listening to what I'm saying or hearing me out or hearing out my expressions, or if they don't value what I have to give, you know. And I also don't want to fall into the shadow of refusing to be open when it could be effective and beneficial to be open in certain situations. To be clear, I don't want my communication to be cluttered with past trauma anymore and get in the way of who I am, get in the way of my life purpose and all those things, because that would be, you know, it would just elongate and stretch the mess. And even if that would happen, it would still be to bring my attention to things that, still need resolving, still need understanding. So that is my inner child confession. Confessions of my inner child. Um, Communication issues, issues with expression, and I can say it's permeated almost every realm or way that I could possibly express myself, whether it's to friends, whether it's on social media, or fucking YouTube video, work emails. Um, I'm glad that nothing too crazy has happened recently, but I suppose maybe 3 years ago, I did have outbursts of rage at work, in relationships. So there has been some kind of growth, but I've also, needed to needed to understand more, you know, understand more, and to allow myself to let my guard down and see what's really going on inside of me. So yeah, well, all that being said, that's what I had to share. I don't got my ring on my finger like I usually do, so I'm just coming at you as I am and as things are. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. Have a good one.